My father was injured at age 3. He walked on canes. He never gave in to anything. Never. He always rose above. Always. My mother died 4 days before I was 15. That ain't easy. I was expecting my son Avremi when we moved to New Haven. Avremi, I had rubella. Avremi was born and Avremi was deaf, which is of the least things that could happen. If you get nothing else from anything I have said, this is it. When you're someplace you don't want to be in, find something that will get you unstuck.
Welcome to Ordinary People with Extraordinary Stories. I'm Chana Weisberg, host of this podcast. Joining me today, we have the fabulous Mrs. Miriam Swerdlove, the legendary. Mrs. Swerdlove is a renowned Jewish educator. She's also a fantastic inspirational speaker, and she is known to many, many people. And I really thought it would be interesting to find out the story behind the woman, because she speaks to so many people. She's known far and wide. She has this fearlessness about her, this this
I hide
relevance.
it well. I hide
You
it well.
And she's you're very relevant to so many people. After, I mean, you for so many years you've been so relevant. You relate
Thank
to the
you.
young people very
I
well.
didn't know
And
that, but
yes,
good to know.
good to know. So thank you so much for joining us, Mrs. Swerdlove.
Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So tell us a little about, first of all, your story, where you were born, how you became the Mrs. Miriam Swerdlove that people know.
It's so funny. You know that none of us really know that we became what we became, right? Because
We're becoming, right?
yeah, or anything. We really don't.
Right.
And sometimes I'm surprised.
Right.
Can I tell a story that really doesn't fit, but I love it?
Of
Many
course.
years ago, they took a film of us in our house. My Bassi is now 40. So she was a few months old, maybe a year old. And they took a film and it came out and it was this big thing. It was the first Chabad film of the Lubavitch family. That summer, I was in Israel and I was walking down Ben Yehuda with my Beis Yaakov friend, Toby, and we bought a big ice cream. And if I'm going to eat ice cream, honey, it's going to be the biggest one there
Of
is.
course.
And we're walking down Ben Yehuda.
Wait,
And
what flavor? What flavor?
coffee and pistachio. Hello.
Okay.
And it's hot and it's dripping all over the place. And I was a sight to see. Yeah. And somebody walks over to me and says, "Are you the woman in the Chabad movie?
Uh,
The
wow.
Lamplighters?" It was called Lamplighters. Are you? I didn't know what to do. I mean, with ice cream all over the place. All of a sudden, I'm famous. I said,
Right.
no, that's my sister. I stuck it all on Leah.
That's funny.
So I didn't know that
Right.
that fame
Right.
is
The
fame,
famous.
whatever,
But
whatever,
you are the famous Mrs. Swerdlove. So
whatever.
tell us a little about how it all started. Where were you born?
Um, I was born in 1945, which means that when the war started, we're from Russia. Um, when the
Even though
war
you have such a
started,
good accent, you don't have you speak very well English. You have a good
that was
English
80
accent.
years ago. I've
Okay.
learned.
Okay.
And when the war started, I think it was Reb Nissen Nemenov, who was a mashpia in Chabad. Mashpia, how would you say that today?
A mentor.
Influencer? Isn't that a
Mentor,
word for
spiritual
Reb
mentor.
Nissen, an
Right.
influencer? Um, so Reb Nissen wrote to the Frierdiker Rebbe, who was at that time already um, out of Russia. He was either in Lita or in Varsha, maybe in Warsaw. And the Rebbe said that the Chabad Chassidim should go towards the east.
Mhm.
And so my parents, uh, we were 4 children. We were 7, but by then 2 children had died. There was 3 of us. I was born my brother actually and my brother and I were both born in Kyrgyzstan, because
Hmm.
we went east to cities like I'm sure you've heard of Tashkent
Of
and
course.
Samarkand.
I heard from my
Well,
mother. Sure.
yeah,
Lots of
sure,
stories. Of
sure,
course.
sure, we were all together.
Hmm.
We were in a city called Frunze, which is right south a little bit, because my father was an invalid. He walked on canes from the time he was a little boy, and he was afraid he wouldn't be able to make a living in Tashkent and Samarkand. So he went to Frunze.
Hmm.
It's interesting. How bright was the man? Wow. Reb Schneur Zalman ben Reb Yisrael Baruch Butman, a brilliant man. Uh, he became a photographer. He knew from photography uh, nothing, but he learned.
Wow.
Why? Because there were soldiers, and soldiers want to send pictures home to their mothers
Mm,
and
mm,
girlfriends. So he
mm,
became a photographer, and he helped a lot of people with that. In fact, I have to tell you, the Stolen Rebbe was at the time in our city, and you couldn't get bread or a card for bread. People were dying of starvation
mm,
if you didn't work. So my father hired him to be a photographer so he
mm.
could give him work papers. So the Stollner family to this day were invited to every one of their weddings, to
Wow.
all of their simchas, and they're very close with our family because of something that Tata did in 1942.
Wow.
I was born in 45 at the end of the war. I was born in March, and the war was over in May.
Mhm,
From there, as you know, because of your mother,
mhm.
we all left on Polish papers.
Right.
Not a one of us spoke Polish,
Mhm,
but the Poles said that all Polish citizens can come home through Russia. It was the only way for us to get out. So we all became Polish citizens. And I think it was my father, I'm not sure, but I think it sounds like it was him. He told everyone to say that the reason we don't speak Polish is because we only speak Yiddish.
yeah. Wow.
And
Wow.
that's how hundreds today, by today, thousands and thousands of our offspring, yeah, got out on the
Got out.
Frunze Echelon and on all the other trains.
Right.
That's how
Wow.
we left.
That's how you left, and I understand at one point you actually saw the Rebbe in Paris when you left, you went to Paris?
Oh, so I didn't see the Rebbe. The Rebbe, well, so let me go back again. My father, as I said, his name was Reb Schneur Zalman Butman. My mother's maiden name is Schneerson. Uh, my grandfather, Reb Menachem Mendel Schneerson, from Rebke, the Rov of Rebke, Chernigov area. And actually, Chernigov, he was Rov in Chernigov. And the Rebbe's grandfather, Reb Baruch Schneer, were brothers. So when we came to Paris, and we went to Paris, a lot of Lubavitch Chassidim went to Paris. We went to Paris because my uncle, Reb Zalman Schneerson, was was sent by the Frierdiker Rebbe. There are so many versions to that, to Paris in 1937. Now, he didn't know what he was doing in Paris in 1937. There was no need for anything. 1941, when the Germans just walked into the city of Paris without ever having to, there was no bullet, there was nothing. They just walked in.
Walked in.
Paris gave
Mm,
up. My Vetter Zalman then saved hundreds of children. That's
mm,
for another broadcast.
mm,
Uh, interview Hadassah Karlbach, Schneerson Karlbach, and they went to the south of France. We came in 1947, and we went straight to his home on 10 Rue Dieu, which means 10 God Street.
mm,
Rebbe Tzanchana came right after us. Rebbe Tzanchana is the Rebbe's mother, and she stayed with us. And the Rebbe came from the United States. He wasn't Rebbe yet, This is 1947, Pesach of 1947, Tovshin Zion. He came to make papers for his mother to take her to the United States. Now, Rebbe Chana, the Rebbe's mother, stayed in our house at
Mm.
Discourdieu. The Rebbe, I'm wondering how many of you out there as Rabbi Hecht would say, my listening audience, how
Right.
many of you out there know that the Rebbe was a very, 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 which word would you use, Mrs. Weisberg, after I said very, very, very? The Rebbe, as an individual, was a very, very, very private person.
Mm. Right.
The Rebbe, the Lubavitcher
Yes.
Rebbe, who
Yes.
became the Rebbe to
Right.
anyone in the world. You don't have to be a Lubavitcher. When you say the Rebbe, it's the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And yet he was an extremely private person,
Mm.
extremely. So his mother stayed with us at Discourdieu. The Rebbe, I guess not comfortable to stay by people.
Mm.
Don't you get that?
Mhm.
He stayed in
Absolutely.
Henri VII, Henry VII, in a hotel in
Mhm.
L'Opéra, near the Opera House in Paris. And he came twice a day to see his mother.
Hmm.
I was 2 years old at the time.
Wow. And?
Um, and so many things, but I'm going to choose one story. The Rebbe left by boat. First of all, he was with us for Pesach that year. And I'm not going to go into all of his hidurim, all of his stringencies. He didn't eat anything. My mother cooked for him separately because he didn't use sugar. He
Mm.
most probably used
Mm.
salt, or else we couldn't have salted the chickens to make them kosher. But very, very, very careful with his food. In fact, just a side thing, I was 2 at the time. My brother Molly Shmuel Menachem Mendel ben Reb Shneir Zalman. So sad. Uh, he's 2 years older than I am, and him and I, Molly and I, on our utensils, on our forks and spoons and knives, no knife, I guess, we had red string, not to get mixed up with anybody else's because maybe
Mm.
we weren't so careful. The Rebbe, he had a blue string.
Oh, wow.
His things were never mixed with anybody else's because he
Hmm.
didn't eat what everybody else ate.
Hmm.
To this day, we don't use anything that we don't make ourselves. But
Hmm.
then it was even like,
Hmm.
it's so sad to say, my brother's not here, my other brother's not here, my parents aren't here. So I can't even ask them, what was it that he didn't eat? I just remember at
The blue
Orgonis
string.
Gegessen, he ate
Right.
nothing.
Wow.
And we
Wow.
had a red string and he had a blue string.
Hmm. Interesting.
Um, 7 years later, the Rebbe left after he made the papers with his mother. 7 years later, we came to the United States. Erev Purim, Tovshin Yodalid, 1954. It took months it would take months to get an audience with the Rebbe. Even then, he was Rebbe then for 3 years.
Hmm.
We went in that night,
Hmm.
my mother, yeah. And this is my favorite story. We walked in, and the Rebbe got up from my mother.
Wow.
We were 4 children. I'll say the names because some of you out there know who they are. My sister Leah, who was married to the Biel Khan, the Rebbe's Chaser. For those of you that don't know, I will tell you. This was a man with an unbelievable mind, my brother-in-law Reb Yael. And anything that you have today, any sikha, any talk of the Rebbe, any mimer, any dissertation, Reb Yael is the one that remembered it and wrote it down.
Right.
So my sister Leah, my brother Shalom Ber, who was a shliach in Tel Aviv. He passed away 2 years ago in the summer. My brother Mullah, Shmuel Menachem Mendel, who was the head of Tzira Agudas Chabad in New York, and I.
Mm.
At the time that Rebbe was in Paris, Mullah was 4 and I was 2. When we walked in to Yechidus, Mullah was 11 and I was 9. And Shalomber and Leah were adults, young adults. The Rebbe got up and then said to us, I'll say it in Yiddish and then I'll repeat it in English. Kinder, ihr gedenkt mir, ihr gedenkt euch gut. Children, do you remember me? I remember you well. Yeah, Rebbe, we remember. And I keep saying that very soon Moshiach's coming. The Rebbe will be back in whatever way you want him to be back. And he will say to us, children, do you remember me?
Mm.
And all of us, I think the whole world will say, yes, Rebbe, we remember. I just read an article about it. Any
Right.
travels anywhere that needs anything knows the address. Where do you go when you have a problem? To the Chabad house.
Of
So yeah,
course.
Rebbe, we
Sure.
remember you.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, Rebbe.
Wow.
Yes.
So you moved to after you came from Paris, you moved to Montreal? Where did
We
you move
first
to?
came to New York, then we moved to Montreal,
Montreal, and then after that to
back to
New
New
York?
York, because
Back
that's
to New
where
York.
we all go home.
Right. Okay. And then you got,
I got married
you got
in
married,
New York,
right?
and we
And
moved to New Haven, Connecticut.
Mhm.
And I'd love to tell you a story.
Sure.
Uh, our son, I was expecting my son Avremi when we moved to New Haven. Avremi, I had rubella.
Mhm.
I knew it wasn't going to be. Avremi was born, and Avremi was deaf, which
Mhm.
is of the least things that could happen.
Hmm.
Every morning, I had to go to work. I had to because I can't stay home. I can't. I just
You
you'll understand. So I was home a whole morning with Avremi, and then went to work in the afternoon at New Haven Hebrew Day School. There was a young man in my class. He was all of 9 years old, who knew every one of my buttons. He knew to push every single, and because I was vulnerable, I allowed him to push those buttons.
Mhm. Mhm.
He was 9, I was 29, and he won
Mhm.
every day, all day. I was doing very, very not well. I wrote to the Rebbe. I said, I need to quit my job. I need to stay home with my baby.
Mhm.
I need to be a full-time. Let me get dramatic. I need to go home and stay with my baby and be a full-time mother. And that's what I wrote.
What number child was of Remy?
3,
3.
but in my head, 1,000.
Right.
And I wrote this letter, really thinking, in our moments when we're not really normal,
Mm.
really thinking that that's what I need to do. I need to stay home with Avremi because Eddie, let's call him Eddie, is driving me crazy. And I fall every day. Every
Mhm.
day I fall. And I can't do this anymore. And maybe that's why I'm nervous because I'm not home with Avremi.
Mhm.
Maybe I guilt, the stuff that we're
Of
born with.
course.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
I'll never forget the day. There's no call identification. What's that called?
Caller ID.
Caller ID. And the phone rings. I'm standing in my kitchen, 29 Eldred Street, New Haven, Connecticut. I pick up the phone, and Rabbi Benjamin Klein, the Rebbe's secretary, is on the other end. And he said, Ich hab farach an Entwer, which means I have an answer for you. What do you do? What do you do? How do you get the Rebbe's answer when you're standing in the kitchen? Went over to the sink. I washed my hands, ritually washed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pulled down my kerchief, I think down to after my eyebrows, and stood very straight and said, I'm ready for the Rebbe's answer. And Rabbi Klein says, the Rebbe wants you to find an outside interest.
Mm.
I said, Rebbe Yamin, wrong letter.
Right.
There must have been a mix up.
Right.
I could hear Rabbi Klein smile. And he says, the Rebbe would cut off the letter. Only your name would come out. And Rabbi Klein says, Miriam Fege Bas Yehudis? I said, yeah. Why is there? He says, that's your answer. I said, but Rebbe Yamin, it can't be. I told the Rebbe, I need to quit. And the Rebbe's telling me I should add.
Right.
I could hear his smile again. Yeah. You see, the Rebbe knew me. Without knowing me or with knowing me, he knows us. And he knew if I stayed home with Avremi, he would become Eddie
Mm. Right. Wow.
because it wouldn't work.
Right.
For me to stay home a whole day, it wouldn't work.
Right. Wow.
Wower than wow.
So what did you do? What did you end
I
up doing?
started in the Chabad, New Haven, Connecticut.
Amazing.
I
Wow.
also tried to look for a kosher restaurant, but there wasn't one.
Okay.
I would have been willing to go sit there a few hours a day.
Right. What was it like raising a special needs child in those days?
It's not
How did you
today.
deal?
Today, it's so much easier.
What was
There
it
is
like?
hardly deafness today.
Right.
Cochlear implants, etc. Remy didn't want. We didn't have the amount of help we have today. It was difficult. They didn't want him in the regular school system. He had to go to a school for the deaf. I drove to Hartford, Connecticut every day. It wasn't easy.
Mm.
But
What advice would you give parents who have special needs
no,
children?
no, no.
Know what?
I didn't do such a great job.
Oh.
Um, Today, it's easier. Today, the advice today, get all the
Mhm.
help you can get. Get all
Mhm.
the help you can get. Get
And
all the help you could get,
how did
including
you how
taking
did you
care of yourself.
right.
Not
Well, how did
self-care, what the world calls self-care, but whatever you need to do it.
what did you do for yourself in those days, or how did you cope with it? I mean, it must have been a
Should
big
I
thing
tell
in
you,
your lap.
I put one foot in front of the other and I did what I could,
Hmm.
as much as I could.
Right.
I wish there was more help, but there wasn't. So we made it.
Right. Right. Wow.
And then we
Um,
moved to New York.
and then you moved to New York, and
Yeah,
then?
because Remy came home from school with pictures of a Christmas tree,
Mhm. Mhm.
and in February, my husband and I had an appointment with the school. My husband walked in, and as soon as he walked in, it was sign language in those days. The kids went like this. That's L. My husband has a black beard, not anymore, and he looked like Abraham Lincoln to them. Lincoln, Lincoln.
Right.
Um, Between Lincoln, I don't mind Lincoln at all, but Christmas trees,
Right.
uh, we decided to go back to New York. There was a school here called Hebrew Institute for the Deaf.
Mhm.
Today, everybody is together, it's integrated.
Mhm.
Then it wasn't.
Mhm.
And so we moved to New York so our we could go to an Hebrew Institute for the Deaf.
Mhm. Wow. Why
Yeah.
were you in New Haven? Why did you move to New Haven?
Um, well, I was on Shlichus, I taught,
Mhm.
and my husband worked for Deutsche Plastics.
Mhm.
And we needed to go, so we moved to New Haven, and then we needed to go back, so we went back.
So we moved back, right. And in New York, did you do other pursuits? Did you have outside pursuits like the Rebbe
Yeah,
told you?
yeah. Once I hit New
Yeah,
York, I was all over the place.
right.
Baruch
Wow,
Hashem.
right.
And that's when I became more public. Yeah.
Mhm. And how did you become more public? How did that go? How did that happen?
I don't even remember how it started, but I remember I spoke at the Sheikh Chabad convention on Shabbos. Somebody said, "Because you have a loud voice."
Right.
I had something to say about that, but kept quiet. Isn't that nice? Uh, and then I went to school in Beis Yaakov. I did not have a Hasidic upbringing. Sorry, I had a very Hasidic upbringing, not a Hasidic education.
Right. So
I went
when
to Beis Yaakov, and from there I was invited to speak to the outside world. And today I speak for Satmar, I speak for Lakewood, I speak everywhere.
why do
I
you
was
think
just, I
you're
was
so
just in, not just, it's a while ago, in London for a group called Step by Step, totally not Chabad, special needs school for children, um, everywhere.
hmm, why do you think you're so relatable?
Because I'm terrific and gorgeous and brilliant and wise and thin. And what kind of question is that?
What makes you so
How did you
relatable?
expect me to answer it?
Okay. Okay.
Really? Should I tell you why? Why people
Please.
say?
Yeah.
I think I'm real. I don't put
Mhm.
on airs.
That's a great
There's no
answer.
fligelach. There's
See,
no
I knew you'd have an
fligelach.
answer.
I don't
Right.
fly anywhere. I tell it like
Right.
it is. I show my vulnerabilities. I have a whole bunch. And also my mistakes. I have even more a bunch of that. And because I'm real and because
Right.
I really think that we have a message to give to the world.
Well, how did you I mean, you said you didn't learn Hasidus or you didn't have a Hasidic education. So where did you pick it up? How did you learn it? At what
Oh,
point did you
well,
learn it?
I didn't learn Chassidus in school,
Right.
but I lived Chassidus at home.
Right.
Yeah, and now we learn Chassidus all the time. We don't even realize that the things that we're doing comes from that background. To look at things from I'll tell you another story. Neshei Chabad, the Chabad women's organization.
International? Mhm.
Uh, there was a convention in Detroit, Michigan. There was a snowstorm,
Mm.
and the airport in Detroit closed. There was maybe 30 women. It wasn't so big then. 30 women. This has to be 50. I shock myself when I say that because I'm 80, but I don't think I'm 80 yet. There was
That's good.
50 something years ago, 58 years ago. About, yes, yes.
Wow.
In my head, I'm only 45, so I don't know how I have memories of that. Uh, and Miriam Popak went to the phone to call 770. You wouldn't remember the number. It's not in your time. 493-9250.
Wow.
And again, Rabbi Klein answered the phone. And she's putting in dimes and nickels and quarters and ching, 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 ching. There's no cell phones, yeah? Did you ever? We once had a world without a cell phone.
Yeah.
Was it better or worse?
That's a good
It's not
question.
for this podcast, but
Right.
need to think about that. Anyhow, and she tells Rabbi Klein, we're stuck in Detroit. Rabbi Klein said he's going to go into the Rebbe. He comes back and he says, the Rebbe will wissen, was I stuck. The Rebbe wants to know what does stuck mean. So Miriam Popak, being an American, is trying, she thinks that Rebbe wants the translation.
Right.
We understood that this wasn't a translation, yeah? And she says, stuck, can't. The Rebbe's answer was, If you get nothing else from this podcast today, if you get nothing else from anything I have said, this is this is it. The Rebbe answered, Aid is kein Mal nit stuck.
Mhm.
A Jew
Mhm.
or any person, by the way, is never stuck. If you're somewhere, it's because you're supposed to be there. Make something of it. The women ran all over the airport. Lubavitcher women have candles in their pocketbook, Shabbos candles. There are people lighting candles today in South Dakota, or it's the only thing I think of that's so South Dakota.
Right.
From that airport mishap,
Mm.
Alaidis came on it stuck. And I
Mhm.
think of it all the time when I'm stuck in my head. This is the worst place to be stuck. Or here,
Mhm.
it's the worst place to be stuck. Unstuck yourself
Hmm.
because Aidis came on it stuck. You're
And
not stuck.
how do we do that? How do we unstuck ourselves when we feel so stuck?
Everyone does things differently. I sing,
Mm.
not so anybody could hear me because then I'd be put away, but I sing. So I'm going to tell you another story. I had to have an MRI. I weighed 65 pounds more than I do now. They put me into that darned thing like a shoehorn. I didn't want to be there. I was stuck.
Mm.
I didn't want to be stuck. I didn't want to be in an MRI. And I guess it had to do, I don't remember, something to do with my head because I also wore a cage. The feeling is I didn't want to be there. I love music. Music puts me in a different world. And so I started in my head. Oh, 1 minute. Why? They tell by Chassidim that the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, when he had to have an operation and there was no anesthesia, he thought Chassidus, deep
Mm.
Chassidic thoughts, and then he wasn't there. I don't know deep Chassidic thoughts, and I'd be there anyhow. The
Right.
Moshe Rebbe wrote one of the most magnificent pieces in davening, Eile Eskiro. Me, I don't know how to think Chassidus. I don't know how to compose music, but I know how to sing in my head.
Mm.
And so I started with Aleph because it has to be done with an order. Otherwise, what are you going to
Mm.
sing next? So with Aleph, of course, I started with Ani Mamin
Mm.
and I sang my way through the Aleph base. And Mrs. Weisberg, you're going to understand this. I came to pay. And of course, as a Lubavitcher, I sang Poda B'Sholem Nafshi, which is the exact verses that the Baal HaTanya, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, was saying when he was told on Yotes Kislev of the year 1776, I think, that he was freed. And
Mm.
as I started, Paul Dobisholim Nafshi, I'm not going to sing now, I heard them say, Mrs. Swerdlove, it's over. You're coming out.
Wow. Oh, wow. Look at
Incredible.
that.
Why am I telling you this story? When you're someplace you don't want to be in, find something that will get you unstuck. Music gets me unstuck, but quietly, otherwise, it would stick all the other people around. But
Right. Wow.
if it's if it's by yourself in a clean kitchen with a clean table and a good cup of coffee in a real cup with a good piece of cheesecake or anything, do that.
Mhm.
If it's calling your friend Nechama or whoever your friend is and saying, I need to go out. Can we meet tonight? If it's whatever it is, do it. Get yourself unstuck,
Stuck. Beautiful.
whatever it
Really
takes.
beautiful.
If it's a
Really
new
beautiful.
diamond ring,
Whatever it is.
no, but that doesn't work. You
Right.
know that.
No, because that's transient,
That
right.
doesn't work. no.
Right.
And if you go buy something new, 2 days from then, it won't fit, so that doesn't work either.
Right.
Something a little higher. Or
Right.
you know what? That, anything.
Right.
Get yourself unstuck. Bala'idis came on it stuck.
Right. I know you're very passionate about the Rebbe's teachings, about Hasidic teachings. I know you speak when you speak, you use a lot of it. Is there something that is a favorite teaching of yours that helps you to be inspired when you're feeling down or when you're feeling stuck or when
Yeah,
you're feeling
so many, but I think on a public forum, it has to be, uh, simple.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't mean simple in a bad way. I love this. Uh, Yehuda Avner, he's the ambassador in Eretz Israel, went into the Rebbe for Yechidus for a private audience. And it's so beautiful that Israelis have chutzpah, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be where we are. Yeah,
Mm. Absolutely.
yeah. Look at our history. Look at our
Mm.
history. Everyone tried to kill us. Everybody. We're
You
still here,
still
Baruch
are.
Hashem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Call it chutzpah. I call it belief, emuna,
Mm.
strength. Yehuda Avner said to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rebbe, what's your job? Imagine, yeah. And the Rebbe said, by the way, the Rebbe had an incredible sense of humor and an incredible understanding of human beings.
Mm.
He spoke to each human being, to each person on their level. So to Yehuda Avner, he spoke on his level. The Rebbe smiled, that incredible smile. And the Rebbe said, my job is to light fires, to
Mm.
light souls, to light up a person, to bring him to his. And Yehuda Avner said to him, Rebbe, did you light my fire? Imagine saying that to someone. Don't try it on a date. Rebbe, did you light my fire? And the Rebbe smiled again. That smile must have been. And he said, that's up to you. I gave
Mm.
you a match.
Right.
And that's
Wow.
what it is. That's what this program is. That's what your life is.
Mhm.
That's who you are to your husband, to your children, to the world, to the
Mm.
macro and the micro. You give people a match. They have to light their own fire,
Mm.
but give them a match. And that's what the Rebbe taught us. And that's what I live with always. I'm here to give my students a match. I'm here to uplift what's around me. By the way, the hardest people to give a match to and to uplift, are you ready? Is your husband and children,
Mm.
because they're with you all the time.
Right.
And they see
Right.
the unmatched.
Right. That's right. Right.
They see the time that the fire is out.
Right.
They see the time that you feel stuck.
Right.
And with them, you're never very honest. That's
Mm.
not so good. But that's what we're here for. We're here
That's what we're
to be a match. Whether you're my grandson Moishu in Larnaca, uh, Cyprus this week, he's very tired. There are hundreds of people coming through, hundreds, maybe thousands.
wow. Wow.
In fact, people that need to leave Israel are taking boats, not
Boats, that's
yachts,
right.
anything that
Yeah.
swims
Anything that goes. Yeah.
to go till Cyprus and from Cyprus to fly out. And there are thousands of people, and you have to be a match to everybody.
Right. Wow.
And that's what the Rebbe did all over the world. Whether you're in Moscow, whether you're in the Ukraine, whether you're in Brooklyn, New York, or in Toronto, Canada, that's who you are. The
Right.
Rebbe has made you the match.
Right.
The other
Uh, um,
person has to build themselves, that we know.
yeah.
Nobody can do it for you.
I'm wondering about your courage, your fearlessness. You have this outspokenness about you that you just say things as they are. You're not intimidated by people. And I wanna know what the secret of that is.
I most probably am intimidated. I rise above. I come from a family, there I go. My father was injured at age 3. He walked on canes. He never gave in to anything. Never,
Mm, wow.
never. He kept going. There was never, "Ich kann nicht, I can't." There was, "Ich will nicht." When I used to say, "Ich kann nicht," he would say, "Du kennst, du willst nicht." You could, you don't
Mhm,
want to. He always rose above, always. And my mother's maiden name, I told you, was Schneerson.
mm.
It's in my blood somewhere. And you don't say no to anything. You just keep going.
Do you think our generation is too coddled that we don't we just don't push ourselves so much?
That's again another whole nother. I don't understand our generation. I really don't. I really don't understand. I run a camp for teenagers.
I
Isn't
know
that
that,
something I
yes.
just finished saying? I
Amazing.
don't understand.
And you're so
And
relevant to them, and they
what?
love you, and you're so relevant to them, they love
And
you,
not
the
always.
teenagers.
Not always. I'm
Well, they're
not so
still
relevant to
coming.
them always. I'm sure
They're
they
still
look at me
coming.
like, really now? Really?
Right.
My kids who run it with me, my daughter, Shufi, Esther Shifra, and her husband, Rabbi Mordechai Telsner. In camp, he's Rabbi M, Rabbi T, I'm sorry. They sometimes tell me, "Ma, eh," but I really don't understand teenagers so much because I want to take them and shake them. I want to shake them. But I'm 80 years old. I'm 4 generations above them, 4 generations. So I've learned at times when I don't understand, I've learned not to say anything. I have to learn
Mm,
more not to say anything.
mm,
But I keep going. I Somebody asked the Rebbe if he believes in retiring. So
right.
we said, sure. When a tire goes flat, you have to retire it.
Right.
That's the only
Right.
retiring he believed in, to retire a tire that doesn't work anymore. So until Hashem decides otherwise, I'm going to keep going.
Keep going strong.
And when he
Wow.
decides to retire me, he'll let me know, believe me.
Right. When you look back at your life, what do you think was the greatest challenge that you had?
Gimel Tammuz. For those of you out there that don't know what I'm saying, Gimel Tammuz is the day that Hashem decided to take our Rebbe up to Shemayim.
And how did you cope with it?
I'm still coping every day, every minute.
And how are you coping with it?
I'm
Like, how
coping
do you
one
what
foot in front of the other. I never say no to anything. I keep
Mhm,
going. Very often I say, Rebbe, this is for you.
mhm.
And very often I feel that he hears me. I talk to Hashem too. For those of you out there that are saying, what is she saying?
Right.
But
I
I'm a chassid and it's hard.
right,
And I believe in Mashiach.
right. Wow.
I think that
Um,
was my hardest. Though I
mhm.
should say, my mother died 4 days before I was 15.
Oh,
That
wow.
ain't easy. But I'm thinking, how much did I understand then?
Well,
Today I understand.
you were a teenager then, right?
What?
You were a teenager, 15, you were a teenager. How did you cope with that? How did it affect you?
I'm here.
You're here, but did it cause
I
any
became here.
effect?
I
What did it
sometimes
change
say
in
in
you?
class when a girl tells me that she can't do this because, so I once said, How does that go? We were so poor that I couldn't even pay attention.
Hmm.
Not about me, Baruch Hashem, we were never poor. But that's the saying. We were so poor I couldn't even pay attention. So very often in class I say, Kinderlach, don't give me excuses. I was 15. My mother passed away. There was a regent 2 weeks later. I took it
Wow.
and I passed it. I didn't ace it, but I passed it.
Hmm.
There's no excuses. Like I said, what my father says, there's no ich kann nicht. There's no I can't. There's ich will nicht. I don't want to. Put
Hmm.
one foot in front of the other. Put on makeup.
So
Oops,
some
sorry.
people some people would say
Fix
that
your face. Put
you're
on your
just
best shaitel or whatever. Get
right,
dressed the best you can. By the way, I weighed 65 pounds or 70 pounds more than now. I was always well dressed.
right,
I went to the bigger size, big deal.
right.
I went to the next size, then the next size, the next size. Oh my God, so many sizes.
And you always looked great.
But I was put together.
Right.
You remember?
Of course.
Yeah.
And you
And there
always
was
made
always
fun
a
of
piece of jewelry
and
to
y
go with it.
and you always made fun of it.
Yes. Now
You've
I don't
lost
know
half
what
your
to do.
jokes,
I
right?
don't know what to do. You have to
Right,
make fun of it because you know everybody else is. So if you make fun of it, it takes away the
right.
pleasure from them.
So some
I
people would
remember
say
a
that you're
woman
not
saying
being
to
in
me, a woman once said to me, Miriam, how do you get up there? I didn't understand what she said. How do I get up where? You mean on stage? Very carefully? She says,
right.
no, you know. So I'm thinking, she means I'm fat? Hmm. So I
Uh,
said to her, maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. Anyone who 2 minutes into my speech is still thinking, look how fat she is, they're
right.
not a mensch. It's their problem.
100%. For sure. For sure.
Now I'm
So
thinner, so I need a new,
you need new jokes, right?
not so
Um,
many. I don't need so many jokes anymore.
right, that's right. So some people would feel that, just moving
Speak
on,
louder
just
because something
you
is,
can't hear. Some people would say that if you're just, you're just saying, go ahead, keep doing, keep going, that you're not really in tune with what's bothering you, that you're suppressing it. What would you answer that?
oh, I'm so open. I so don't suppress anything. I could guarantee you that my husband would love me to suppress some stuff. Um, I will tell you that every single night, almost, when I say Kriya Shema before I go to sleep, in in the Chabad Nusach, in our how do you say Chabad Nusach in English?
In the Chabad liturgy, the way that the order of the prayers.
Yes, we say every night, Hareini Meichel Chol Mi Shehichesesi Vehiknitesi. It's so incredible that prayer. I Hareini, here I am,
Mm,
and I forgive anyone that belittled me, that made me angry, whether in this lifetime or another lifetime. And I forgive them. And God, please don't punish them because of me.
mm,
I forgive them wholly, totally.
mm,
I say that every night. Do I forgive everybody every night? Sometimes I put it on the credit card
mm.
for tomorrow. But then I do. And then every night I write, not like some people write. I don't write, I just jot down the things that I thank Hashem for that day
Mm.
and the things that I would like him to fix. And I usually end with, I hope to see this very soon and know that that part is over.
Right.
And so I'm very honest with myself. Very, very, very. When
So
I
you're
get up
honest,
next
but at the
morning,
same time, you're just going forward.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Get up the
Mhm.
next morning, say Modani, wash Wasser, and keep going, no matter what. I
And
also
what
forgot by then.
you also what?
Forgot
Forgot.
the other
Right,
stuff by then. Thank God.
right. Well, what gives you the strength, though, to go
I
one
don't
foot in
hear.
front of the other? What
Again,
what gi what gives you the strength to go one foot in front of the other?
I really think it's blood.
Mhm. Wow.
I can't say that I'm a self-made man. No,
Right.
I
I
really
I
think
wanna
I think I have it. I think Hashem gave it
Right,
to me through my mother.
right.
That blood is heavy, by the way. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And my father and his, I think,
Right.
nurture, nature,
I wanna talk for a
Rebbe,
moment
Rebbe.
Reva, right. I wanna talk for a moment about your granddaughter that you lost with the tragic accident. What was your feelings then, and how did you cope with the loss, and how did you comfort your family?
Again, it's nothing that I can give you an answer. I didn't comfort the family. We bought, I don't remember how many tickets that day to go to Israel, and we all flew, and we were all there, and we all put one foot in front of the other. It's my son and daughter-in-law who they did something incredible. They got up from Shiva. It was Monday morning, I think. At 10 o'clock, they walked around the building. That's what one does. And they said whatever they had to say. And I went back to where we were staying. And 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from my son. He says, Ma, you and Abba, please be here at 5 o'clock tonight. We're writing a Sefer Torah. I said, You're
Oh,
doing a what? He said, If I want my wife to get out of bed, I have to do something big. We're
mm,
writing a Sefer Torah. Tonight at 5 o'clock, we're starting in our apartment. And we went. I'll never forget it. My incredible daughter in law came out of her room with long pearls, makeup on her face. She came out to write a Sefer Torah in her daughter's name. My sister was in New York, and I called her, and she hears dancing. I put the phone out so her to hear. She says to me, What's going on? Where is this dancing? She'll kill me that I did that accent. I said, Leah, they're writing a Sefer Torah. In the same room, we're not 10 hours before, less. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 hours before was the crying of the end of Shiva. There was a writing of a Sefer Torah, and there was dancing, and there was my incredible daughter-in-law with pearls on, because that's
wow,
what you do. You build, you go forward, you build, and you do what you're supposed to. And they did.
incredible.
And they have a library. It's called Shula's Library. And many, many kids come every day to a beautiful little studio. It used to be with the tree inside of it. Now it has almost a tree. Beautiful. And they built. And that's what you do. You build instead of undo.
What about do you ever have questions against God? Why did he
Yeah,
do
sure.
this? How could he
Sure.
do this? How do you deal with that?
I talk to him every day. Every day. Sometimes I scream at him. I said, What do you want? I speak to him in Yiddish, though I know he knows English. But my my davening, my depth is in Yiddish, not in English. So I say to him often, Was willst du? Was willst du? Was willst du? Genug, no? What do you want from us? Whatever you want, we do. Whatever you want, we do. I run a camp in Israel. I love this story. I shouldn't tell it, but I will. And if you want to take it out, you could.
Okay.
We were in the desert in Israel, 50 girls, hot, hot, and we're all dressed like we're dressed. And we're walking up a little mountain. It's in Ein Gedi, and we're walking towards a waterfall. And there was a custom, a minhag, that I only wear a shaitel outside. I don't wear a kerchief, the Rebbe said. But there I put on a kerchief or a little hat, and I go, and the girls push me under the waterfall. It's a game, and I let, and it's lovely, and I love it. And I scream, and and I resist. Yeah, it's a game. And we're going up, and it's hot. And there's a woman sitting there, and I'm sorry, but she was bigger than Lane Bryant. I mean, she was next level overweight. Me too. And she's wearing, you'll forgive me, a two-piece bathing suit. And she's like this. It's hot, it's hot. And she sees my girls and she's looking at them. And I realized she's American. And I said, "Is there a problem?" She says, "Look what you look like. Look how you're dressed." I had to. So I said, "And you're cool? Now you're not hot?" She said, "Of course I'm hot." I said, "So are we, but we're following a rule." I was so proud of us.
Right,
She was as hot as we were, but we're doing the right thing. We're following a rule.
right.
And then they pushed me under the waterfall. I don't do it anymore. Last time we did it maybe was 5, 6 years ago. They still go. I don't. I
Right,
very nicely sit in an air-conditioned place and eat ice cream or some,
right. Chocolate with pistachio, right?
yeah,
Right. So
coffee,
oh,
coffee,
coffee,
pistachio.
coffee, okay.
I
So
don't do chocolate.
I think you're saying that even though you say things to God or you're angry with God, it doesn't stop you. Is that
Well,
what
of
you're
course not.
saying? Right.
Of course not.
So your conversations are with God very upfront, very honest, and
Yeah,
very
yeah.
real, but
Vos willst du?
you
Vos
still do the
willst du?
reels.
And at the
Right,
same time, I'm saying chakras, or I don't daven chakras, mincha maybe, yeah, brachas, whatever I say.
right, right,
Look, those of us who are married and get angry at our husbands doesn't mean you don't love them.
right, right. When you look back at your life and the so many things that you've done, what are you most proud of?
My 6 kids, Baruch Hashem, my wonderful grandchildren and great grandchildren. We just came back from a bar mitzvah of a great grandson, our fourth, in San Francisco. And he led the davening, the prayers, he read the Torah. He said a mimer, a dissertation of the Rebbe's, uh, previous Rebbe's, 10 pages in Hebrew, and he knew it off by heart. And they're turning over San Francisco. It's a tough city.
Yeah, sure.
I'm so proud.
Hmm. That's
I'm so
beautiful.
proud of my kids, my family, who we are. But I'd like to be here when Mashiach comes.
Do you
And
have
I'm
it?
very proud of my camp. Very, very.
Yeah,
We change lives every summer.
beautiful. Do you
Baruch
have any
Hashem.
do you have any regrets?
Now on this program, in front of everybody?
Absolutely. You said
Yeah,
you're
sure.
vulnerable.
Yeah, but not that. Sure, sure, sure. So often I think if I could do it over again, I would do it the same way though. You know how
Mm,
I know? I had a baby after grandchildren, after a grandson.
mm.
My Basi was born an aunt. And I always said, if I could do child rearing over again, I would do Baba Mises. I did the exact same thing
Wow.
because that's the way it is. You live life the way you are.
Right.
You could work on
Wow.
it, but still.
Wow.
So regrets, Should I quote Frank Sinatra? I did it my way. Actually, I did it his way.
Right,
I tried to do it his way. When
right,
I did it my way,
right. This was Mrs. Swerdlove, this was a fascinating talk. I really appreciate your
you have
time.
fascinating talks twice a day on I know.
No, this is amazing. Not all people are like you. Leave us
If
off
you
with
have them
one.
on your program, they're most probably like me. You don't have
Le
someone on your program that's gonna be boring and
Right.
if it makes it to the
If it makes it. So leave us off. What message would you like to leave us with? What would you like to tell our generation, the people who are listening? What message would you like to give them to take home?
no matter what, keep going. No matter what, keep going. You're not stuck. Put one foot in front of the other. Is it hard? Yeah, yeah, it's hard. Are there days when you're gonna say, "But I can't"? Yes, you can.
Hmm.
Yes, you can. Do whatever you have to. Only if it's legal, yeah? Keep going. Trust in
Right.
God. Trust in God. Trust Hashem. Look what He's doing now. Look at the incredible miracles. And inside of you, inside of every single person, there is a part of God. It's a chelik elikam mimal mamosh. You have a part of Him inside. Reach in, not reach out. Reach in and get God to help you and keep going, and you'll see it'll pass. Whatever it is, it'll pass. Just keep going. Think of a 15-year-old little girl who just lost her mother. Just keep going. Think of all the things that you already passed and you made it. Do you remember when checks used to bounce? Keep going. And if you had an argument with someone, fix it. And
Mm,
before you go to sleep at night, open up the Kriya Shema and read that part in English. Here I am, and I forgive everyone that ever did anything bad to me. And keep going.
beautiful.
That's
Beautiful.
and eat
Eh,
cheesecake.
right. And the ice cream. Thank you so much, Mrs. Swerdloff. We really
You're welcome.
appreciate it. Thank
Sei
you.
gesund.
Be well. Continued success, and may you have the
Amen.
strength and the health to keep going until
Amen.
120 and more.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was fascinating with Mrs. Miriam Swerdlove. There's a reason why she is so legendary and she is so sought after as the speaker that she is. Her realness, as she explained, she's very real, very vulnerable. You can see that there was so much in her life that she's gone through, from losing her mother at 15 years old, from having a child who was hard of hear, who was deaf, couldn't hear at a time when there was not a lot available for these children, the various stages of her life, what she went through, losing her granddaughter to a tragic accident. And yet, that message that she kept on saying over and over, you're not stuck. You can speak to God. You can scream out to God. You can talk to God and say, why is he doing what he's doing? But that feeling that you're never stuck and that there's always a path forward and that you always have to just keep going and keep moving forward. And as she explained, to do it in whatever way it is that's good for you. If for you, it's something that if you're someone that likes to sing, as she was singing during her MRI, or if you're someone who likes something else, whatever it is that inspires you, to just use that inspiration to keep going, because we need to keep on lighting that match that she spoke about with the Rebbe and with Avner. That was a beautiful story. So I just really enjoyed that interview. I enjoyed the message that she brought to us and the way that she said it with such humor and with such confidence and with such outspokenness that this is the way it is, to just move one foot in front of the other and keep on going and never feel that you are stuck. If you enjoy watching these interviews, I hope you are subscribed to Chabad.org/extraordinary. You can watch us as well on all podcast platforms as well as on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being part of this extraordinary community.